These last couple problems are being able to graph and find an equation of a circle given specific information. So this one example is when you're given a radius of the circle. So we know the radius is 3. Add that in here. We know the center's in the first quadrant. So we know we're going to be up in quadrant 1. And then we know it's tangent to the y-axis at 0, 2. So the word tangent in general means if you have a circle, a tangent line is something that intersects that circle once and then goes on forever in both directions. Not the best sketch, but hopefully you get the idea. So what a tangent line is not, it cannot cross the circle twice. So that pink one would not be a tangent line. So the way this helps us is if we know something is tangent, so in this case it's the y-axis. So we know the y-axis is up and down. For something to be tangent to that, that means that the circle is going to have to hit that line and then bounce off of it. So something else that can help, we know that at that point, the radius to the circle, to the center, will have to be perpendicular because that's the only way it will only touch the line once and never touch it again. So applying that to our graph, if we know it is tangent to the y-axis at 0, 2, we can plot that point, 0, 2, and then the circle is either going to have to bounce off to the right or bounce off to the left. Since we know the center's in the first quadrant, we can just count over 3 from the right. So 1, 2, 3, because we know the radius is 3, and that gives us our center of the circle. So just using that idea of the circle has to bounce off the y-axis, we can count to find our center. So our center is going to be at 3, 2, and from there we have enough to write our equation and graph the circle. So if we want to graph the rest of the circle, we know from the center, radius of 3, we can count down, 1, 2, 3. We can count to the right, 3, up 3. My graph wasn't perfect, but you get the idea. There's our circle. Notice how it's bouncing off the y-axis, only intersecting it once if I drew it perfectly. And then our equation would just be x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 9. So for these types of problems, I'm not necessarily asking for a graph, but the graph is what helps you get all the information you need to be able to write that equation.